Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk Wednesday. My name is Melshanie Collins, and I am the CEO and family advocate of the G.R.A.C.E agency, where we advocate for families that have child welfare cases. We also help fathers to gain paternal rights to their children through legitimation, and we also connect families to local community resources. So, thank you, first of all, for those of you that are present every single Let's Talk Wednesday, that leave comments, that might share these lives. Thank you so much. But for those of you that have never seen Let's Talk Wednesday, are new followers, because I'm always getting new followers, I'm always joining new groups. What we do here at Let's Talk Wednesday is we allow different businesses, agencies, or organizations to share about the services that they have to offer to the community. Why, you may ask? It's because there are so many providers, there's so many resources that are out there and that are local, but a lot of people don't know where those sources come from, right? They hear about somebody that's doing a rental assistance or utility assistance. They hear about different churches that are doing if you need money for hotels, emergency stays, baby shower events, if you are a family that has a newborn and you are in need of diapers, wipes, or things of that nature, but they don't know where to get these resources from. And so that is what we do. Every Wednesday, we are featuring someone different that can give you the information about their agency, their business, and they're letting you know, hey, these are the services that we have to offer you. And if you are in need of these services, this is where you can get them. This is who you can contact. And so I think it's very vital to do that because the community needs that knowledge, right? If you don't know where these sources are located, how can you help your family in a time of need? Or how can you refer someone to something that you may have saw if you don't know where these services are located, okay? And so again, you all, that is why we have our Let's Talk Wednesday. Um, and so today, you all, I'm about to join her in on the stage. I met someone who I feel like is great. I met her at a local event a couple weeks ago. She was hosting an event in Covington. I live in Newton County. And I met her and I felt like she would be really good to join this live to give you some information about herself. She is District 3 Commissioner Alana Sanders, you all. And so specifically for those that are in District 3 or in Newton County, I really thought it was good for her to be able to get on here, introduce herself and what she does so that you can get more personable with her. You can learn who is in power, who has influence in your county, because we need to know what's going on, right? How many times have decisions been made in your county, like regarding taxes or regarding zoning or regarding resources, right? But you don't know who's making those decisions. So I thought it was really important to let you all know who she is, what she stands for. And if you are in Newton County, you still will have a chance to vote for her. So I'm going to give a chance. I'm going to let her join in. I'm sorry. And I'm going to let you all speak to her if you got questions. If you want to know more information, because I have had people asking me about who she is and different things of that nature, I'm going to let her speak for herself. So give me 1 second.
Hello.
Hello, Commissioner Sanders. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing awesome, awesome. So first and foremost, I definitely want to thank you for agreeing to speak at our Let's Talk Wednesday today. As I've told you on the phone, I think it's so important to learn about the people that are fighting and advocating for you as a constituent in your community. And with you hosting the event, I let them know that that's where I met you at in Covington. You're very personable. You're very charismatic and excited. And I thought that for the people that live in District 3, the people that live in Newton County, I thought it would be great for them to get to know who you are, as you are the current commissioner and you are in a runoff election. So thank you again for joining us and speaking with us today.
You're so welcome. I am excited to be here, and I'm honored that you asked to interview me because I would definitely love to talk to you about any issues you may have within the county, as well as just talk about concerns. And you, as I heard you state, providing the resources for those in the county, because those who live in Newton County don't even know some of the things that we provide. A lot of people don't even know what a commissioner does. And so
Yes.
when I actually ran for office in 2020, that was my whole educational piece, was that I actually was educating people on what a commissioner does, because there was so many people who did not vote. And we saw that in this election that we
Mhm.
had less than 15% that came to the polls. And
Wow.
it's horrible. And so a lot of people say I don't vote because I only vote in the presidential election. I'm voting for my president, but they don't understand the importance of your elected officials on the local level and what we do. We maintain your livelihood. We determine how you're going to live in your county. We're going to determine if there's going to be a Chick-fil-A on the block or there's going to be a church's chicken. We're going to determine
Yes.
all those various things. We determine your roads, the quality of your roads, how many houses are going to be built next to you. Just last night in our Board of Commissioners meeting, we had an annexation of an acreage of land of 309, I think it's 391 acres to be annexed to another city that that can affect us in the county. And it looks like it was about 300 houses on the property. So those are the
Wow.
things that will affect you in the area. Infrastructure, how wide your roads are going to be, whether you're going to be in traffic, are you going to have the quality of roads that you need? It's going to give you the widening of the roads. So there's so much that a lot of people don't know what a commissioner does.
Absolutely. And so I want to give you the chance to formally introduce yourself, who you are, and actually educate those that are watching right now or those that may watch this live after it goes off, to let them know, what does a commissioner do? Because I think it's important, just like you said, we need to get people back in those voting polls, because
Yep.
it is important. We complain about the things that are going on in our community, our subdivisions, our
Yes.
neighborhood, but we're not getting out there and voting, let
Mm.
alone voting for the right people to do the things that we need to have done. So just introduce yourself and educate them.
Again, everyone, I am Commissioner Alana Sanders, affectionately known as Alana. That's my name. I'm not big on titles. I honored to have the title of commissioner, but it's about the work that I do for the people. I am a transparent elected official. As you can see, a lot of people normally will come for the transparent ones because they don't have a problem speaking up and speaking out on what's happening, and they will expose it. They will make
Yes.
sure it gets out there. We have that voice, as you can see on the federal level. My star Miss Crockett, Congressman Woman Crockett, as you saw, the 6 Bs we talked about. I don't want to go back to it, but we are the one on the front line, on the
Yeah.
local level. We are the ones who are the voice for you. I tell people all the time, as an elected official, I work for you. You put us in place. You don't work. It is not the opposite side that you have to answer to me. I answer to you because you are the one who vote us in. It's imperative that people also pay attention to what's happening in the community. Let's give you a little bit about what a county commissioner does. We are the legislative body of the county. You have the county, then up under it, you have your mayor and your city council. Your mayor and your city council are the ones who just for the cities that are in Newton County. We have 5.5 cities, and I say 5.5 because part of Social Circle is in Newton County. And
Hmm.
so those counties fall up under those cities, excuse me, fall up under the county. And we have to work with our cities because they also have voting power and legislation. But the county is only over the unincorporated areas. A lot of people don't know the difference between incorporated areas and unincorporated areas. That means if it's unincorporated, the county has the right and the jurisdiction to make decisions and laws based on that land, the property, the people that live in that area. If it's
Okay.
in incorporated area, that's the city of Covington, that's Porterdale, that's Oxford, and those areas fall in that city. But sometimes, well, actually, not sometimes, they pay double tax. They'll pay city and county taxes. But the county is the umbrella, and the cities fall up under that umbrella. And so, just to give you another example of what commissioners do, when you have holes in your roads, you're driving down,
Hmm.
that is your county commissioners. That is your county commissioners, unless those roads fall either in two places, the state of Georgia, because you have roads that are in the county that falls in the state of Georgia's jurisdiction, they're highways, or they fall within that city. if you're in a subdivision. A lot of people didn't know this. I helped a lot of subdivisions when I came in office because there were so many subdivisions that were like 20 years old that have never been paved or repaid or have never been surfaced for the first time. When you have a subdivision and it's a brand new subdivision, that final layering is supposed to be done by the county. When I
Mm,
came in office in 2021, they had subdivisions who were running over manholes because they never came back to put the final layering once that last house was built in that subdivision. So I had those things done. I took care of those various things. So it is my job to make sure that those things are occur, even putting in zoning laws in place to make sure that we have the right infrastructure in place. As I mentioned earlier, when it comes to Crawl Railroad, and some of those who listen to Sound My Voice may not know these roads, but Brown
mhm.
Bridge, you have Salem. Salem Road is a state road that's owned by the state of Georgia. So we have to kind of work with the state in regards to that, make sure it's clean and picked up. But Crowell Road, Brown Bridge was their main road. We're now widening those. The access roads, that falls on us. So we
Yep.
have to make sure that infrastructure is in place in order to for you to have quality roads, not to be in traffic like you normally do. We worried about environmental issues. We work with our law enforcement, our sheriff. We provide the budget for our sheriff. We're not over the sheriff. I have to tell people that the sheriff is the constitutional office. He's the highest elected official in the county. He's the constitutional officer. So his laws and regulations falls up under the state of Georgia, not the county. So he answers to the governor. So those are various things that are different. We just only control the budget. We control the budget of the tax commissioner. We also set your property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
We said that, but I'm going to say we didn't increase your property taxes. We rolled them back. You got to go to the school board for that. School board and the county are separate. So that's just a little bit about what a county commissioner does and what we're about.
Wow. And you know what, Commissioner Sanders, I can attest to everything that you're saying when it comes to the roads and the subdivisions, because the roads where it's being widened is my area. And also, I was in one of those subdivisions that did not have the finished roads, and they came out and started finishing them. I think it was like the earlier part of last year, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just now finishing it up. And because we were complaining because we were riding around those potholes,
Uh-huh.
tires, everything messing up. So I want to thank you because I didn't know that that's what you were responsible for. So
Yes.
thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And so I have done some research on you, and
Okay.
this has also been a few questions that I've gotten. I've shared that this live was going to happen on today, and I have gotten some questions from a few people. And so I would like you to expound on your educational background, because you are a very achieved educator in that area. And some people was, they wanted to know, like, hey, we
Mm-hmm.
heard that she is a professor. We've heard that she has been an educator for many, many, many years. And we want to know not only, about her background in education, but we also want to know, how does that impact her policy making, or the things that she chooses to make decisions on?
That is a great question. First, let me inform you what is the qualifications of a county commissioner. And when I tell you this, you're going to be very shocked. The
Mm-hmm.
qualifications of a county commissioner is just to be a registered voter, live in your area for at least 1 year, have a high school diploma, and as well as not have any criminal activity, felonies, and so forth that can stop you. That is the only qualifications of a county commissioner. So if
Wow.
anybody say you have to be an attorney, you have to be a professor, you have to have a bachelor's degree, you have to have all this, that is not the requirements for a county commissioner or any elected official.
Okay.
That is
Got
the only
you.
requirements is a high school diploma. Now, I've had meetings to where on the federal level, because I'm on a lot of organizations on the federal level, I'm the vice chair of program and services for National Association of Counties. And that was one of the questions that we had, that there should be more qualification for these positions, at least a bachelor's or at least a certain amount of educational classes for your position you should be required to take. I am a certified county commissioner. It means I'm certified by the state of Georgia. I was the first in Newton County to finish my 66 hours of classwork in less than a year. So I
Wow.
knocked it out. I got it out. So I am a state certified county commissioner. Everybody on our board is not, but I
Mhm.
am. I went through full coursework and I have other leadership certification as well. But my education as far as in college, I have a bachelor's, I have 2 masters, I have PhD work and PhD as well. And so I am a college professor. But I don't speak a lot on that because to me, I'm a person not throwing around accolades, but how it has
Hmm.
helped me is because I'm able to speak to people because I have to teach students. I have to educate students. I've educated leaders, future CEOs, upper management people because I teach business, marketing, international business, governance, various things of those nature, how to operate budgeting. I do those various things. I wrote the first college textbook on social media marketing. I wrote the
Wow.
second college textbook on social media marketing. And I also wrote a book recently last year on a journey. It's called a Black Woman in a Male Dominated World, an elected official's journey. And I had some state reps, I had uh, other commissioners actually come in with me to provide different things. And I wrote it like a college textbook. It's a whole curriculum. So where someone could teach it actually in the classroom. And it's breaking down how women can get into this role. It could be more easier for them, as well as from campaigning, words they need to know, it's a glossary, all those various things, a whole entire textbook where people can
Wow.
actually read it. And although it's written for women, men can pick it up as well because the information is universal. But it's just actually catered to women because I am a female and I went through various things. And I also had scenarios in that book of things that I went through that wasn't so great. And I asked people, okay, if I gone through this, how would you handle it? This is how I did it. How would you handle it as an elected official? And the reason why I did that because there's no guide for me. I worked
Hmm.
with people who were elected officials. I worked on campaigns because I was considered a social media expert. So I worked on campaigns of state reps and some other people. But there is no guide, a specific guide that tells you this is what's going to happen once you get in office. When I first came in office, of course, as a fresh virgin as an elected
Hmm.
official, I was like, yes, let's do it. I'm gonna make these changes. We're gonna do this. Power. Let's get it done. Power in a good way. Transparency. But when I realized when I sat in that seat, I looked to the left and looked to the right and said, that's not what we're doing here.
Yep.
Not what's
Yep.
happening here. Where's the people's agenda? Where is it? And that's when people told me that you, Commissioner Sanders, have awoken a county. I've had people that work in the county who come to me on a private level, and I would never tell their information because I'm like their comfort space because they know I'm the person that's going to speak on it, and I would never
Hmm.
say their name.
Hmm.
And I'm the voice, and God gave me that voice for a reason. Sometimes I say, God, why did you put this in my lap? Because they come for me just crazy. They're
Yes.
not coming for me personally. They're coming for my assignment. Because
Yep.
my assignment, I'm here that God put me in place is to expose it all and to tell and to let them know you're doing this wrong. These are my people, and I put you in place to take care of my people. I didn't
Yes.
put you in place to take care of your pocket. Okay. And so I put you in
Woo.
place to make sure the people are taken care of. And because I am an outspoken person, they come for me. And as
Yep.
you can see in this election, you probably see so much stuff of narratives and false stuff. I'm like, I didn't even know I did that. Tell me when that happened. People are fighting for power and money while I'm fighting for people. And
Yep.
I'm not even in this game for money because you know how much a county commissioner make in Newton County. You can say this woman is not fighting for no money. You can't even look up any illegal activity that I have done. And so they'll
Right.
try to throw something and make up that narrative. And I would not put politics on my worst enemy. You have to have thick skin in this. I've never called myself a politician because I'm not. I'm
Hmm.
not a person to get along, to get along, to go along and get along with the agenda and to fall in line. That's not me. I'm going to do what's right. I've said this many times. If you ever watched the interview with me, I'm going to say this again. Public servants are put in place to serve the community. Politicians lie,
Yep.
they serve themselves, and eventually they go to jail.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I am not a politician. I am a public servant, and I will serve the community until God say is time out for that. And I know when God says it's time out, there is something bigger and better. I've heard people tell me all the time, your voice is so much bigger than Newton County. But I know there's assignment for me. There's things I want to see done. And to stop me, because I'll get passionate about it whenever you want to stop me. You have to. And so so much that needs to be done. I'm so passionate about this county because and our youth in this county. I'm so passionate because my district, I've only been in this office for 3.5, and it just made a half. My birthday was on Sunday. I forgot I was campaigning and stuff. I forgot it was even my birthday. People had to
Well,
tell me.
happy birthday.
Thank you. And so I've been in this position 3.5 years. And I look at the people that was before me, and I'm not trying to put blame on anyone, but you have to speak the truth. You have people who sat in this position for decades, one person or two people who sat in these positions for decades, and you didn't think about programming and parks and recreation for the youth and the people in the community. We're the
Mhm.
only, my district is the only district that have parks and recreation. You didn't think about that for the community. And my thought process, what were you thinking about? Were you just thinking about all these houses that were built? Because if you look on the west side of Newton County, we are in here like sardines. I mean, we are in here like sardines. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not against growth because I am pro growth. I am pro progression. I am
Mhm.
pro growth, but I'm for smart growth. If your
Mhm.
infrastructure is not in place, if your roads are not there, I have communities, and I'm going to tell this one community, Silver Ridge, which is off of Kirkland, and is that Kirkland? Jack Neely, I'm sorry, Jack Neely and Fairview. Silver Ridge subdivision, beautiful subdivision. Their homes are probably worth $500,000, if not a little bit more, because of the inflation. When they bought them, it was cost about 300,000 before the pandemic. So now I know they worth about $500,000.
Mhm.
I talked to a senior who I went to go say, "Hey, go vote." She said, "You have time?" I spent the whole hour sitting in this senior's house. She's showing me her tax bill, how she paid $210,000 for it 4 years ago, and her house is almost worth $400,000. So imagine a senior citizen's property taxes going up because of the inflation in her value of her home, and her mortgage is now two times as much than she can afford. So they're worried about
Wow.
saving. And so going back to Silver Ridge in regards to building, that community, every time it builds, black water comes out of their pipes. So that's your
Wow.
drinking water. That's your water you take a bath with. Okay. So obviously there's something wrong when there's
Right.
too much building that we have not succeeded when it comes to infrastructure to make sure that people's water is not contaminated. But you're constantly building and you're constantly building. There's, like I said, I am not against development. I am not against building, but I am for smart growth, and it needs to be done correctly. And I'm gonna end right there
Absolutely.
because I'm gonna keep talking.
Absolutely. And you know what? That goes in. Someone asked a question, and I want to see what
I'm
your
looking at
thoughts are
that.
on it while we're talking about that. It says, it's from Jonathan Collins. It says, what is your stance on major corporations buying many houses, building new homes, and renting them out at outrageous prices while controlling the market? And what can the county do about it?
I'm against it, Jonathan. I'm completely against it. I've actually spoken to legislatures on a state level. I've even spoken to my colleagues in other counties who are also attorneys, and we actually work together. And how you can, what can happen? There was law that was put, legislation, a bill was put before the state. It has to come from the state, and counties can do things as well. I'm going to break that down. There was a bill at the last session that was brought before the state, the House of Representatives. It didn't
Hmm.
make it out of the House. Why did it make it out of the House? I'm going to speak on it. All I can do is speak facts. When you have elected officials who are landlords, property owners, who have investors,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I truly believe when you have an issue, you should recuse yourself. If I
Yep.
was a property owner or landlord, I'm not going to be non-biased because that is my money.
Yep.
You're making policies based on my business.
Yep.
So to say I do understand, but you should recuse yourself and allow those who can think with a straight mind, who are not biased and are non-biased and are voting. It didn't make it out of the House. So
Wow.
you have to corner your state reps. You have to corner your senators and say what's going on. And not just your senator. You can also talk to state reps and senators that are not in your district area and say,
Mm.
hey, we need you. You can rally together with the people to make sure this passed because of you allowing investors to come into these communities and buy up these homes at top dollar, the
Yep.
value of my home increased doubled, which is causing my mortgage to increase. So we in the board of commissioners, we rolled back the millage rate. We rolled it back. We didn't increase your taxes, but because your house is double the amount that it costs, it doesn't matter how much we roll it back because it's
Yep.
that amount of millage rate times the new amount of your home value. It looks like we increased your taxes, but we didn't. So now your mortgage is going up in
Yep.
amount that you probably wasn't prepared for. Now now property insurance is going up. Homeowners
Mm-hmm.
insurance is going up. So all of that, even within Georgia with this shared insurance thing they have going on here. So if you have an area that's dense, for example, I'm gonna let you know how all of this entwines. If you
Mm-hmm.
have an area that's dense, like my subdivision, that's 922 units. Yeah, I said that right. 922 units. Yes, you heard
Wow.
me right. And their houses are so close together that if one house burns down or one house is on fire,
Yep.
that if EMS does not get to them in time, I'm going to talk about that as well. Ask me about 911 certificate. We're going to break that down. That if EMS or fire services can't get to them in time, guess what? The whole block is burnt down. So,
Wow.
because now that is a issue, because I had fire services tell me that the materials they're using to build these homes are inflammable. Yes, 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 yes. Because the state of Georgia does not have any policies in place on the stipulation of certain materials you should use to build a home, so that doesn't happen. So yeah, I'm breaking it down for you. So because now you have houses in a dense area that are burning down, guess what? Because we have the shared insurance responsibility, because that area may have a lot of houses that are burning down or issues, your property tax, your insurance is going up because this area next to yours is an issue. That's
Wow.
even with auto insurance. If an area has a lot of accidents because somebody's having it ain't like it was back in the day. If I have this clean record of driving, my auto insurance is going to increase. No, because all these people here having accidents in the state of Georgia. Now my insurance is going up because Georgia has shared responsibility.
Wow.
That is the problem. And so you have to get to legislation, your legislative state, to change these laws. So what I have done, conversed with homeowner associations. I
Mm-hmm.
spoke to them. Now the issue with homeowner associations is that because these investors have already purchased these homes and now they own them,
Mm-hmm.
they are now owning majority of the homes in the area. So when you go to a homeowners meeting, you don't have enough homeowners to vote. So that's the problem.
Wow.
So what a lot of homeowners associations have done, they have changed their bylaws to put in place stipulations of amount of renters they can have in their subdivision. You need to check on that for your bylaws. You can change that if you have the people show up to vote. Gotta get people to show up to vote. And
Right.
so some of them have changed to 5%. So if you have 100 homes, there's only 5 houses and be rented. Okay. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have or 10%, 10 homes in that area can be rented. So you need to get with your HOA. People, pay attention to what your HOAs are doing. Pay attention to what's happening. Go to these HOA meetings. I know sometimes you get frustrated with
Mm-hmm.
HOA. I said my next house will not be in an HOA. I tell you that. But I love how they are putting things in place to where people have to. It's a structure and it's a standard. So there are positive HOAs that are out there. There are some that think they own the whole neighborhood. I'm just gonna
Yep.
say.
Yep.
But you have to pay attention to these things they're putting in place and if they're doing certain things, because these people that are on HOAs are not professionals. They're not. They're not those who are aware of government policies and so forth. They are volunteers, and so are doing the best that they can, but they don't know the laws and regulations. So you have to make sure that you're paying attention to what's happening and how your finances are being spent in these HOAs too. That's another. But move right along.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, wow. I mean, you've just given me a wealth of
Mhm,
information that I had absolutely no idea about. And it is important because all of these things that you're talking
mhm,
about, the monopolization of the housing market in these areas, property taxes going up, auto insurance. I mean, these are the things that I hear people complain about all the time, and just being amongst friends and
mhm.
family. But there's not enough people that's actually voting, or they even have the education that this is
Yes.
what's happening in their community.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So the
And I
next
think
thing
I
I
didn't
want to
answer
talk.
the last part. What can the county do? I sent a whole entire plan for the county. The issue with that is commissioners, one commissioner is one vote. If you don't get the whole board, you have to have at least 3 votes to change any laws and policies in this county. One sole commissioner cannot change it by themselves. So
Mm,
that means that you all in this county need to get to every commissioner to make sure they put parameters in place. The problem is people are quiet. You can no longer be quiet in this day and age. You have to speak up and speak out for what is right and wrong in your community. If you have an issue with investors coming in here, you say, commissioners, we need you to do something about it. And if they don't do nothing about it, you need to question that commissioner and see who has some connections with developers or investors. I'm going to put it out there. I'm just going to say that. Like
mm-hmm.
I said, you have to ask the questions and you have to hold your elected officials accountable. Stop letting us get away with stuff. Stop letting us not being able to do certain things that need to be done for the community. It's imperative that you put people in place that are people driven and not
Mm-hmm.
money and power driven. And so I
Mm-hmm.
got my soapbox.
Absolutely. And you know what? So when it comes to these meetings where the community gets to discuss these certain issues that's happening, where can we get this information on when these meetings and are happening and where they are? Because I'm not, I to be honest, I haven't been to one, but I feel like you lit a fire up under me. Like we need to be at these meetings and we need to be letting
Mhm.
our voice be heard.
Yes, you can go to Newton County Government,
Okay.
or you can type in Newton County Board of Commissioners, or you can type in Newton County Board of Commissioners agenda. All of that's there. I suggest you go to Newton County Board of Commissioners agenda and sign up and subscribe to all of the agendas for the county. You can have it sent to your email, you can have it sent to your phone, or whatever device that's connected to it, and have all of those agenda items, the whole entire agenda be sent to you. Our Board of Commissioners meetings are every first and third Tuesdays of the month at 7 o'clock. If we
Okay.
have a special call meeting, it might be at 6:30 on a certain day, but it will be announced. A public meeting has to be announced to the public by a certain time in order for you to be aware and to attend. But that's why I tell everybody it is your civic duty. It is not your commissioner's duty. I do it as just an additional something I want to inform my community and make them aware. I just go
Hmm.
above and beyond my job, and I post everything on social media. I post the agenda, I post the times, I post the meetings and let you know. But it is our civic duty as taxpayers, as residents of Newton County, as citizens of the United States. It is
Yes.
our civic duty to be aware of what's happening in the county. I'm going to say this, there are too many people who fought for us to have diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI. I know some people can't stand that acronym, but it's true. It is so many people that fought for us to have a right, not just for black and brown, but all of us together. There were Caucasians and there were white. There were other races fighting with minorities, black and brown, to make sure we all had equality and make sure we had a quality of life here. So it's important that you get up and
Yeah.
show homage to these people who died for us to make sure we had these things, who did these various things to make sure that you can have the quality of life and stop saying we overcame, we there already. No, we're not. Because I'm going to give you an example. In Louisiana, I'm originally from Louisiana. And
Hmm.
I said, once this election is over, I'm heading down home. And I'm going to find out how I can be a part of that fight. In Louisiana, they even trying to put back slavery law. They're also,
What?
oh, you need to be paying attention. See, people are not paying attention. You gotta pay attention to what's happening because you have elected officials that are voting on stuff and you're not paying attention. And what happens is when it happens in one state, it goes trickle down to another state. They see how it passed
Yep.
another state. There are things that are happening in Louisiana to where they're trying to take away your rights to have full access to open records. Open records are for the people. For those who know what open records are, that's anything that happens with the government that you have access to and you can ask for. You can ask for how we spend our money through open records, and we have to send it to you by a certain time based on the attorney general. You can ask if I have a phone that's owned by the county, that's your phone. Your taxpayers pay for that. Emails, if you want to say, I want all the emails from Commissioner Sanders talking to another commissioner, you have the right to ask for that open record because you are a taxpayer and you are a citizen of the United States. There are elected officials who are trying to put limitations on the amount of open records that you can get. There are elected officials, even right here in Newton County, that are trying to stop you from speaking at public meeting. I don't know if you saw us on the news with Fox 5, everybody was at our meeting, where they're trying to stop you from speaking at citizen comments because they don't want to hear from you.
Wow.
This just happened in Newton County 2 weeks ago, and it's not over. It's tabled. It hasn't gotten back on the agenda yet. Probably holding on to it to see what happened to me in the election because I was the biggest voice. But this is what happens when people are doing things that you're not paying attention to take away the voice from residents. And even my opponent, and I'm going to put it out there, said that if you guys say something that they don't like, you should be fined.
What?
Yes, I am against that. I'm completely against suppressing the voice of our people. I
Because there's a reason why you want to suppress the voice, and that's what I'm concerned about. What is
Mhm.
the reason why you don't want people to be heard at a public meeting, or
At a
that you want them to be fined if they say something that is against you or that you do not like?
yeah. And this is the example of why people like me that have voices, that they come for us, that they use all of their ammunition and attacks and various things and just to make up stuff. And I have to post the receipts to tell people this is a lie and all types of. This is why people come for those who are transparent. I'm telling those who listen to the sound of my voice. When you have an elected official, a public servant who's fighting for you need to be behind them, supporting them, because they are the ones who getting beat up. They are the ones who getting threatened. Yes, I have received threats. They are the ones who are getting attacked. Yes, I have been attacked. They are the ones who are these things are happening to because they're trying to shut you up. They are the ones who are sending lawsuits. Yes, my opponent sent me a lawsuit because they want to shut me up and do a cease and desist. They are the ones where they're coming for you, because coming for me, people like me, because they don't want the stuff to get out and they don't want you to know about it. So what they do is try to shut those individuals up. And so it's up to you as the people of Newton County, the people of whatever county, the people of the state of Georgia, whatever state you are, how far this broadcast may go. It is up to you to speak up and speak out. I had some people say to me, I'm not going to say nothing because they're going to mess with my Social Security. What?
Wow.
First of
Wow.
all, your county officials have no jurisdiction over federal programs.
Wow.
Nobody can touch your Social Security unless you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing to get Social Security. Now, that might be the question I'm going to have to ask you. Why are you
Right.
worried about somebody coming for your Social Security? Are you doing something you ain't supposed to be getting Social Security or some
Right.
type of assistance? That should be the question. County officials don't even handle that. We are legislators, we're policymakers. We do not handle operations. We have a county manager who we pay $156,000 to in this county to handle operations on our behalf, who we put in place. Those are the people who handle operations. We only do legislation and policy making. We are not the operations individuals in the county. Like, for instance, if you tell me about a road, you
Mm-hmm.
tell me your commission about the road. My job is to make sure it's done. My job is to make sure I go to the county manager and the director of the department say, hey, this grass is not cut over here. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
this road is not done over here. Why is it not done in my area? I don't physically go out and do the road. My
Mm-hmm.
job is to make sure I tell the people that we put in place, which is our county manager, who is the highest um, official, non-elected official in the county. We are the elected. He's non-elected because that person is appointed by your board of commissioners to serve on our behalf, and they report to the board of commissioners. So it's their job to make it happen. So if you see the grass not cut, you can pick up the phone and call your county manager. We have an app that's called Notify Newton that you can download to your phone. It's real time. It has GPS on it, and it has the geo factoring on it. So you can take that app, take a picture, and it would tell you exactly where you located, and it would send it directly to that department, and it would give you a tracking number. and they have to respond back to you to say when it's completed. A lot of people don't know about the app. I even spoke about this app on the federal level. I had to go to DC to talk to some other elected officials about we have this wonderful app to connect with our constituents that they have to contact me. I love it to know what's going on, but now
Uh-huh.
you have to contact me. They can download it to their Android, they can download it to their iPhone, and it's called Notify Newton. Even if you see something in a certain area, you see trash, you take a picture of it, it goes straight to the right department, and they'll give you a tracking number, and they have to tell you when it's completed. And if it's not complete, that's when you go and contact your elected official and say, hey, I did my part as a resident of Newton County. I did my civic duty. It's not taken care of. So now you are the commissioner. I need you to tell me why so and such department did not do what they were supposed to do. That's how it's supposed to be done.
Wow. 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 Commissioner Sanders, you have given me like my mind is blown right now because there is so many different ways for the community to be active and engaged in what is going on. There should be no excuse that we can be on Instagram and Facebook and
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and ride around in these streets and complain about certain things. We can be engaged and
Right.
active in what's going on in the community
That is
because these things are important. I mean, the more that you speak, I'm just like, it's blowing my mind. It is, I mean, it's wow.
yeah.
I don't even have the words to
And
say
you can watch
all the
the
things that we could do.
mhm. And you can watch the Board of Commissioners meeting on YouTube. If you can't get there, you can
Mm-hmm.
watch it on YouTube. Go to Newton County Government and you can watch it on YouTube. The only thing you can't do is they don't have the component to where you can do public comments. In order to do
Okay.
citizen comments, you have to come to the meeting. Just to give people some information, we have two citizen comments right now if they're not trying to vote it out. We have two citizen comments. The first one, excuse me, let me correct that. You are a resident of Newton County. You're a
Mm-hmm.
citizen of the United States. So every resident has the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. In the beginning of the Board of Commissioners meeting, the chair would say, do we have anybody who would like to speak on agenda topics? That means whatever's on the agenda, if you see a development or if you see some us changing a zoning or changing anything on that agenda, you have
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes to talk about the agenda. Then at the end of the meeting, which is the last agenda item, which is citizen comments, again, you have 3 minutes to speak on whatever you feel. It could be on anything related to the county, the government, or whatever you feel, your elected officials, you have that right to speak for 3 minutes. So there's opportunities for you to speak in front of your elected officials and it be recorded on tape, documented in the minutes. So I tell people if there's something you complain about, come to the meeting and document it. I get blamed all the time when people show up to the meeting. And it offends me. I'm gonna tell you why it offends me because
Mm-hmm.
it says to me that you don't think that our residents are smart enough to come speak for themselves. No, they woke.
Mm-hmm.
They see
Mm-hmm.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And beforehand, y'all was keeping this hush hush. Y'all wasn't telling everybody what was going on, and
Right.
it was barely nobody. Let me tell you, it was nobody at the meetings. When I was running, I won the election in 2020. I won it in the primary. I didn't have to go through a runoff. I won it straight out. I had 60% of the actual amount of voters in Newton. That's why it's surprising that only 13,000, less than 3,000 people came out to vote in my district, and 11,000 votes. And so it's disappointing. It's a shocker.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
but going back to that, I was going to the meetings. I was attending the meetings. I even attended them when we were in the pandemic and we were online. They were doing it through Zoom. And some of the stuff that was passed during that time that's affecting people, like a manufacturing grocery store called Lidl, that's now behind the houses of these people that are $500,000. So they
Mm.
have a whole production manufacturing company behind their houses. People who have newborn babies and they hearing all this clacking and clack, clack, clacking. They look out on their balconies. They got nice little balconies, but they see a manufacturing company. I've had
Mm.
residents who moved out of my district because it's like I can't take it. So they sold their houses and moved to another county. We're losing residents because of decisions that have been made by elected officials. And that all was passed through the pandemic. I watched that meeting myself as commissioner elect. I was sitting there watching it. And so when I
Whew.
started going to the meetings, I can have a whole room to myself because it was about 3 people in the room. It didn't start getting packed until I started waking people up and people started seeing what was going on. People started coming to
Mm-hmm.
the meeting and was realizing this is what's been happening in my county. I've been here
Yep.
20 years. I've been here 25 years. I had no idea, Commissioner. I had no idea. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it boldly. The people that come for me are the ones that want to shut me up
Yep.
because they don't want you to know. The people that are on my social media right now during this campaign season are part of my opponent. I'm going to speak it because they want to shut me up and they
Yep.
don't want you to know what's happening. So people of Newton County, it's up to you who you put in these seats. Because when you don't show up, guess what? People creep right on in that you don't want in these seats,
Yep.
and they are taking care of your livelihood, voting on things that's going to affect your community, like this mass building. I got blamed for mass building in Newton County. I've only been in this seat for 3 years.
Right. Right.
I create the mass building. It takes time to build. It takes about 3 years to build a whole subdivision. So
Yep.
I cannot be blamed for mass building. No, that was my predecessor. Let's keep it real. She was in this seat for 12 years. I speak on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
cannot be involved in the mass building. I actually paid for an appeal out of my pocket. We just recently I just recently know the committee did. And so we found out that if there is a decision made by planning commission or board of commissioners, you have 10 days as a resident to appeal it. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. And if I wasn't asking the questions, I would have not known. And then when I found out, I related it back to the residents. And then I said, well, how long do we have to appeal? It was like 10 days, commissioners. And I said, and they said it costs $150 to pay for the appeal. And I was like, why are they charging people to appeal? But anyway, and so I had a lot of residents say, Commissioner, please file that appeal. Can you just go ahead and file an appeal? So I asked our attorney and I asked the development services manager. I said, well, can I, as the commissioner, appeal the property in my district? And it was like, yes. So I wrote the letter on behalf of the community. I combined what everybody stated and all that those various things. And I wrote it. I went down there. I got it notified. And then it came back maybe a week later, probably like no, about 4 days later, because you have 10, mind you got 10 days. And
Mm-hmm.
so 4 days later, Commissioner, we didn't receive your $150. I said, I got a commissioner of the county. I have to pay 150. I'm an elected official. I'm appealing a something that's happened in the community that's on behalf of the residents. I'm confused. I
Uh-huh.
said, so I asked the county attorney, I said, so an elected official who works for represents the county has to pay 150? I don't think anybody should have to pay it anyway, but anyway, I
Right.
digress. And it was like, Commissioner, we don't have anything in place that says you don't have to. So I was out of town at the moment. I went ahead and gave it to a resident. I said, please go down and let them know Commissioner Sanders is sending you the funds to go pay this on her behalf. On her
Mm-hmm.
behalf. And so I had to do that. I was at a conference in Houston. So that person went and paid it on my behalf to make sure that we did not miss the deadline.
Wow.
So I paid out of my pocket to appeal something that my residents were against. And they felt that having this development, they were not against the growth, but having this development will affect the infrastructure. I talked to some administrators. I talked to some here in the county on the school sports side, and they told me that we were almost at a capacity. I talked to an administrator in the elementary. She said that we are about to be at capacity to where we're going to have to expand. And so we have an issue with schools overcrowding. You have an issue with you never spoke to law enforcement. So how do you
Mm-hmm.
know the sheriff has manpower to man the area? You want to talk about crime, you want to talk about various things, but you haven't given the sheriff a heads up that you're building 300 houses here, 300 houses here, 300 houses there, and then you haven't talked to fire service.
Wow.
We
Wow. Wow.
already have an issue where we have to build another fire department because we are so dense that they couldn't get to us in time. I've watched 2 houses in my term, my 3-year term, burn down to the ground. One of the second houses, I was in the city of Atlanta. I was in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a call from a resident. They didn't call, they did call fire, but I was honored. They called me. It's like, I was on fire across the street from me. I was like, did y'all call the fire? I hope y'all call fire service before you
Right.
call me. I'm honored, but I don't have a fire truck. So
Right.
I was in Atlanta and I drove down to the subdivision. I got there before fire services coming from Atlanta.
What? With a house burning to the ground?
And I'm sitting there watching it. You can go on my page. I videotaped it. The fight was so hot. I was just amazed. I'm watching it. Even the one in my subdivision. Even though it's down the street from me, I got there beforehand, and I'm not faulting fire services. It's
Mm-hmm.
up to the commissioner to provide the funding. It's up to us to make a decision on we need fire services here. It should have been put in the plan. That's why I talk about smart growth. When you're going to approve all these houses, you have to assess how many fire stations we need to cover this area if a house is on fire, especially if you're building a house this close to where I can go outside and hand my neighbor a cup of coffee through the window.
Right.
Or I can hear, like my neighbor, I can hear, I'm pretty sure they probably hear me talking loud right now because I have a loud voice. I can hear my neighbor playing music, so if the walls are thin, all those are thin. So you have to make sure that you have the adequate amount of safety in an area before you build. And
Yep.
so it's crazy to me that we don't think of that. But when I was running, one of the things when I met Cheryl Brown after right when I was, I think when I became right when I was running, I think I became commissioner elect.
Mm-hmm.
We did a food drive together. And one of the things he told me, he said, please, now that you're in office, because they never did this for me. He said, can you include us in y'all development decisions? He said, can you let us know when y'all about to approve houses? Because we don't find out till after the fact. And if I don't have the manpower, then you expect me to deliver when you knew how many people we had on board.
Yep.
And you build and now I had a housing forum 2 weeks ago because I told the Chamber of Commerce to do it since they had an issue about development. There was a development that I did not approve. The Chamber of Commerce came in our emails and asked us to reverse our vote.
Mm.
And so I said, well, why? What is your personal interest? What is your personal interest in this? And I said, well, host a housing forum so you can hear from the people in Newton County on what they wanted. They declined it.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, I'll do it. I did it about 3 weeks ago. And so I was able to speak to people on the east, the west, the north, whatever of Newton and hear. Because you have the rural area that wants a certain thing. You have the west
Mhm.
side that wants a certain thing. You have a north side that wants a certain thing. So I need to hear from everybody. I put myself
Mhm.
on the chopping block and I sat there and I listened. And one of the things that was stated was that you guys are building, building, and building with no plan put in place.
Mhm.
And so you have no plan put in place. You're hindering the residents. You're hindering law enforcement. You're hindering fire services because you're making these decisions. So you're expecting all these people to deliver when you didn't even give them the opportunity to respond on should we do this right now or should we do this right now or do you have the manpower or how can we get this in place? There was no plan put in place. And that's
Yep.
why we're here where we are.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Okay. And so, for those of you that don't know, Commissioner Sanders is in a runoff election right now on June 18th. You all, for the ones that live in District 3, you need to vote. I can't say it any more clear or any louder. You need to vote. All of these issues that Commissioner Sanders is talking about is so very important and is going to affect your livelihood if you don't get out there and vote. And so I want to know from you, Commissioner Sanders, once you are reelected, what is going to be your top 3 priorities for when you get back in office?
One of the things we have some once I get reelected, and just to put it out there, this Saturday is early voting. You can go vote Saturday, knock it
Okay.
out. And early voting is from June 8th through the 14th. So knock it out, get it out the way. Don't wait until June 18th. So June 8th, this Saturday to the 14th. My first initiative, I applied for a $4 million grant from Congressman Hank Johnson in 2022. I was awarded that $4 million grant. The money is
Wow.
just sitting there. Yeah, it's great, but the money is just sitting there.
Why?
It's sitting there because people are putting power and egos over people. And that's why it's sitting there. It was to build, we already had $4 million to build a youth facility for our kids on this side of town. So I knew it wasn't enough money. So along with myself, now mind you, this grant was sent to every commissioner and they could have applied. It was sent to us by our clerk who sent it to every commissioner. I took the initiative to apply for it with the support of my community because I had multiple support letters because the grant requires you to have support letters. So I I'm sorry. I applied for an additional $4 million. I can't hear you anymore. Gone? Well, if you can hear me, I applied for additional $4 million for the grant. And it gave us a total of $8 million to build a youth facility for our community. Along with that, along with that, the residents had a interest meeting where it was conducted by a consultant where we paid $100,000 for them to select where they wanted their community center, their facility, their parks and rec, and what they wanted to see inside it, where it can be. I went to every school in Newton in this area to ask them what they want to see the kids, ask them what they want to see in their youth facility. The reason why I'm having an issue is because my predecessor sat on the board of the Boys and Girls Club. And while she was sitting on the board of the Boys and Girls, she was, oh, 1 second. Can't hear? Okay. Hello, everyone. I think something happened to her sound. And so she's coming right back. Let me check and see over here to see if the sound is still live. I think something happened to her sound. Can y'all hear me? Are y'all listening to the sound of my? Oh, well, I'm still live. So I'm going to answer her question. So why the funding is still sitting there is because you have elected officials who are playing politics over people. That's why the funding is still sitting there. The people of District 3 decided and voted where they wanted their park to be. They decided and voted where they wanted their park to be. Because we're playing politics over people instead of the needs of the people, that's why that $4 million is sitting there. That's why it's sitting there and there's a problem. And so HUD, the grant is through HUD, Housing of Urban Development. And HUD has been sending me emails because I was the one who wrote the grant. And we also have a consultant who they put in place who also received an email. It's asking Newton County, what are going to do with this money? Because it's sitting there. That's free tax dollars of $4 million. See, my mind thought, I don't want to tax the taxpayers. I don't want to increase taxes. So there's money in the federal government for us to have for our youth. There's money to build community centers. There's money to help our homeless people. There's money to our unsheltered population. There's funding. So that's what I think. I think about resources without taxing the taxpayers. So because that people are playing politics over people and saying, we don't want to do that because she made us look bad. She got $4 million in her first term. She's making us look bad. I'm the only female on the board, by the way. She's making us look bad. And so we don't want her to get the recognition for it. It's not about me. It never was about me. It's always been about people. I have one child and she's in college. So I'm fighting for you. So my first initiative would be to make sure we have the parks and recreation to complete the task that should have been started on years ago. This is 2017 splash, and I added on money to it and got additional money from 2017. It's supposed to be built in 2017, starting in 2017. We're in 2024. We don't have a park. So we have almost $4 million to build a park. We're waiting for that to be built. The money is sitting there. We received grant money from Congressman Johnson for sidewalks. If you live on the west side of Newton County, we have no sidewalks, man. So it's to build sidewalks. So we received money to build walkable and bikeable trails. We got that in 2021. And so I've been on our engineer. He said he put out an RFP for the design work, but it shouldn't take that long because DeKalb County received their money for their walkable and bikeable trails, and it's already built, and we got it at the same time. So there's an issue with egos. There's an issue with people being challenged. There's an issue with people being transparent. There's an issue with people don't like individuals who speak up and really are fighting for a community, really truly fighting for a community. And it's really important, people, that you get up and get out and vote for people who are fighting for your community. I never tell people just vote for me. Research me, call me, ask me the questions. If you heard something, come to the horse's mouth, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the receipts. They call me the receipt keeper. And I will post it in a minute. I will give it to you. I will tell you, go do open records. Make sure you get the facts. Stop listening to this jibber jabber that's out there and so forth, because I'm telling you, it's only to deter you and to deter your vote and to stop you from voting. It's really important. Your vote is your ticket. Your vote is your power. Your vote is for your children. Your vote is for those that are coming behind you. So those are the first two initiatives. The second one is that we have to deal with affordable housing in Newton County. I brought various initiatives. I am on in a group where I was invited to a group. I was actually appointed to a group called Local Progress. Local Progress is an organization for progressive local officials across the United States. I'm one of the people that was actually to be a part of. I was the first one to be accepted in the state of Georgia, and I referred some of my other members. These elected officials from school board, city council, DAs, local judges, your county commissioners, your mayors, and we all come together and look at policies and how we can help each other on the local level. There's policies in place for rent stabilization that I brought to the county, by the way, to help those who are in a situation where they have been living in a place paying rent and their rent doubled in overnight. And now they have nowhere to survive. So now you have a new homeless person. The face of homelessness is completely different now. Homelessness is completely different. People who have BMWs living in their cars, like I've seen it with my own eyes. People who are college educated living in their cars because they cannot afford the rent. So there's policies that I submitted to the county that could be put in place to where you can say, hey, landlords, you cannot increase the rent more than a 1 to 3% per year. There's stuff put in place. You cannot evict people because you just want to evict them, because there's certain parameters you have to put in place in order to evict people. So those are things to help with rent stabilization, because the majority of people who are getting evicted are your Black and brown. And that's statistics. I'm not saying, because anytime I say something about my race, or I say something, because I have a Latino side as well. Anytime I say something about my race, people thinking I'm being racial. No, these are statistics, people. Your Black and brown residents are the ones who are being evicted at this day and age. So they put policies in place. I was just also appointed to be one of the leadership team for the Black Caucus, to where we write policies and procedures for those who are in the Black and brown, because they're the ones that are being affected. I need residents to understand, if you're not being affected by these issues, then you don't have a problem. Don't speak on them if you're not the ones being affected. But statistically known, these are the ones who are being affected by these issues. So that's number two. The third one is, what kind of combine, it's really four. Your affordable housing, which also goes with rent stabilization, our homeless population, our unsheltered population. I went out. I was the only elected official. Nope, let me take that back. Our sheriff was out there as well. It was myself and Sheriff Brown. We were in the trenches with G.R.A.C.E. G.R.A.C.E. is your homeless organization that works with the state of Georgia. And they come and count your homeless people that's in your area. And when we go out, we go under the bridges. It was cold and freezing at night. We were under the bridges. We had homeless people sitting up under the bridges right on 278. They're actually staying up under the interstate. They had a man who told me this, and it was four of us out there, and the sheriff was out there as well, could be my witness. He said he'd rather sleep in the woods than go into the homeless shelter here in Newton County. That's a problem for me. He said that with his own mouth. There were people out there to hear him. So we were out there with our app counting our homeless people. Do you know what? Newton County, she fussed at us. You know why she fussed at us? She represents from the state. She said Newton County, she's been fussing at Newton County and the city because they never applied for the annual grant to get money that can come to the county every year to help our homeless population. We never applied for it. There's also grants. My other priority is making sure we get all the grants we need and having a grant writer. Newton County does not even have a grant writer. Why are you taxing the taxpayers? You don't have to always use the general budget, and you don't have to talk about increasing taxes like my opponent said that she would increase taxes, that we must increase taxes. No, you don't have to increase taxes because there's money in the federal government. There's money on the state level. You have to go and seek the money. There's money to help people get down payment assistance. They call Georgia Dream. And the lady told me she'll come down to Newton County and talk to the residents who are paying $2,200 for a two-bedroom or $1,200, $1,800 for a two-bedroom when they could be homeowners and get assistance for down payment. Because this is what public servants do. It's the difference between a public servant and a politician. This is what we do because we care about people. And when something happens to people that are even not even our blood, it affects us and it hurts us. It keeps us up at night. We cry out for the community because this is what we do. We for real about this. We true to this. We're not just calling ourselves commissioners. We don't even care if you call us commissioners as long as you call us by a respectful name. But we are true to this because we care about the community. I've been doing public service before I even stepped into the role as a commissioner. So being a commissioner is just a title. I've been doing this work before I became a commissioner. I don't have to just throw accolades or say this is what I do. But as an elected official, you have to say that because people always say, what have you done? Where you been? So you have to tell people what you do. But I do this because I care for people. And those are my initiatives that I want to definitely put in place. And more transparency. Transparency and communication. Our communication in Newton County is antiquated. Like you just said, how do I find this out? We have so much technology that should be how-to videos, how to do this in the county, how to do that in the county, how this should happen. There is no reason why you don't know how to find the resources in Newton County. There is no reason why you cannot find a meeting. They should be streaming on Facebook as well, like other counties. But they don't want you to know. It used to be streaming on Facebook, but it was too many people responding and tuning in. They took it off of Facebook. So they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. I can't hear you. Are you on mute? I can't hear. Can you all hear her? Check on your computer and see if you press the volume off. There's a key that you could press the volume. You make a mistake and hit it and press the volume off, and they'll turn it off. I can't hear you. Let me see. I can't hear you. I know sometimes computers they act up. You can hear me? I can't hear. Let me see if I can hear you on the stream. Listening to the sound. Let me see if I can hear you on the say something so I can hear you on the stream. They can't. They said they can't hear you on my Facebook Live. They said they can't hear you. So I'll speak for you. I know you're at the end of the meeting, at the end of the show. You are tuned into Grace. Okay, you are tuned into Grace with Miss Collins, and make sure you stay tuned with her. She's bringing you the facts. She's bringing you information every Wednesday. Tune into her right here on her social network. You can go to her page if you want to be on her show. Contact her as well on social media. She is a pillar in the community. And I'm going to call her pillar in the community, doing great and wonderful things, keeping you alert, keeping you informed, Newton County and beyond. Blow her page up. Like her page, all of her social networks. You are tuned in, and make sure you tune into her. This is Commissioner Lena Sanders, and I'm honored to be on the show today and watch her show every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, watch her show every Wednesday, giving you the news that you can use. We're signing off. Thank you all for watching.